My name is Rustam Dow. I was born and raised in Ottawa. I moved out to the prairies about 12 years ago. Originally to work as a reporter and a photographer for a small town newspaper in Saskatchewan, in Carlisle. But aside from that, actually to experience Canada and Western Canada and to get a sense of what the prairies were like, just to kind of go on an adventure. And so, yeah, being born and raised in Ottawa and living in Toronto for 10 years, part of the appeal of coming out west was to kind of get away from people and closer to nature, I think, subconsciously, right? I've always been an outdoor person, and city life can be overwhelming, especially in Toronto. And every chance I got growing up or living out there was to get out of the city. So it's nice to now permanently be out of the city. I think it better suits my personality. Well, like my father, he is an artist. He's still with us, thankfully. And he's been an artist his whole life, like a painter and also a photographer. And when I was younger, I didn't really have an appreciation for it, but I was always kind of surrounded by that kind of activity. But as I got older, I sort of started to gain appreciation for it. And actually, it was him that sort of put the bug in me for photography. And he was out here for a visit one year, and he had his super telephoto lens, and I knew where to find wildlife. I wasn't a photographer at the time, and so I took him for a tour around the research station here, the research farm. And it was during the rut, so the bucks were moving around, and he was getting some shots. And actually, there was another photographer there who had a camera very similar to this, and he was sticking it out of his car, and I'm like, oh, I was kind of like interested in that, and I felt like I was kind of missing out, and so that's where I got the bug for wildlife photography, was at that moment. So I started doing my research, but yeah, prior to that, I was always kind of like a hobbyist, right? And just sort of dabbled in all kinds of photography and thought it was cool, but it was at that moment with my dad at the research station that I decided to take that more seriously and get more focused on wildlife photography. I use a Canon 7D Mark II. So I chose this one because of the fast shutter speed. It's dated, like today's like contemporary cameras today. The shutter speeds are 30 plus frames per second. Like, it's kind of foolproof. Same with this lens. It's an older used lens. It's a 500 millimeter f4 Canon, older generation, but the reason I like it's because it's one of the first generations to have image stabilization, which is really important for subjects that are quite further away, because the further away they are, if your lens deviates, then you'll lose the detail, right? So this is just this is like my workhorse that I bring around often. And it's an older used model, so I'm less worried about it getting damaged or stolen. So I'm more comfortable bringing that, leaving it in my car. I do have a Sony A7R IV, which is a kind of when I know what I'm targeting. If I know something's in the area, it's more of my planned setup. This is kind of my just bring around everywhere setup. And why I bring that out for certain occasions is because it's a very high resolution camera, higher value, but I like the detail in the eyes of my subjects, like that. And with the high resolution 61 megapixel, I'm able to crop it in and focus on those eyes and get the detail of the eyes. That's kind of my favorite thing. I don't know what it is about it. It sort of, it brings that connection to the whole natural world around us when you get to see the eye of an animal, right? Like, if the eye is the gateway to the soul, you realize that all living creatures have souls, right? In that sense, and makes you feel part of something bigger, right? It's that interaction, right? With another living creature, right? With another soul, in a way. Yes. Sometimes with this prime lens, I'm just too close to the subject and I can't fix that unless
Yeah.
I like walk further back. But by that time, the animal's gone, kind of thing. So with the 200 to 600 mil, you have that advantage of being able to change the focal length based on where you are in relation to the subject, which is advantageous. Advantage of this one though is in low light settings with the f4.
Yeah. Been able
You
to go
can,
down.
and with wildlife, that's pretty important. So that's why I like having two setups is for those different scenarios. Yeah, Paul Nicklin, he's a Canadian wildlife photographer. Um, there's a real purpose behind his work in terms of conservation. It's not just photography for photography's sake. There's a real conservation purpose and motive behind it. I find that inspiring, really inspiring. A lot of ethics involved in that,
Yeah.
and it's more than just photographing an animal, which is, I don't know, that motivates me. Not a photographer, but a wildlife artist, Robert Bateman. I'm really inspired by his work. They're both Canadians too. Yeah, those two would be probably my biggest inspirations.
Okay.
And actually, like, it's funny you asked that too, because I love the wildlife photography. Personally, though, I find sometimes the artistic interpretation of wildlife is a direction I want to go. Like sometimes photography I find is a little bit too literal.
Yes, it can
And
be.
that's why I like the artists who hand draw or hand paint their subjects, right? And that's something I want to aspire towards. Like I want to start using my photography as inspiration or as reference for either drawing or painting eventually. That's one of my goals.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually like my calling. Like I grew up, my father was an artist. Like he was a painter, that's what his living was. And I grew up around art galleries. I grew up around my father working at his drafting table and painting. That's how he made his living. So it's embedded in me. So I don't want to seem biased because I feel like I can find the beauty in almost any species, right? From a dark-eyed junco on a shrub in my front lawn, there's beauty in that, right? And I think that's how I approach it, right? So I'm not really biased or towards anything, but if I had to choose, it would be my experiences with great gray owls. There's something about their eyes and their magnificence, like the size of their wings, the length of their legs, their agility, and like they're not shy of humans per se. So there's that proximity and that intimacy that you can get with them that you can't with other species. There's just something kind of magical about them. So for me, my experiences, if I was to choose, would be with my preference, like my most memorable shots would be with great gray owls. There's something like magical about them. So any one particular shot, I don't know. I have a whole bunch that I haven't processed yet, so that's to be determined. But overall, my experiences with great gray owls have been like the most memorable. They are amazing animals. And I love that it's our provincial bird.
Yes.
So there's that connection there. We have in our local culture, I guess, with gray owl, like the person involved in
Prince Albert.
the historical figure. So there's some folklore there, and some that makes it intriguing as well. But yeah, again, like you can find the beauty in any species, in my opinion, from the dark-eyed junco in your front lawn, or the common sparrow, or the blue jay, which is common, but also just the colors, the plumage on them is just so beautiful, right? So any shot that can help you appreciate the beauty in like the common species, I can appreciate it all. I had an experience with a great gray owl. So I've been researching, like, the ethics is important to me, right? And so one thing I learned recently is that even though they don't seem shy, uh, great gray owls might be an exception because they're generally not too shy of people. But sometimes they're just preserving their energy, right? And they have very limited energy. So it's best practice not to approach them too close, right? I can't, depends who you ask, but some people say 30 feet, right? So I had just read that and I said to myself, 60, 30 feet, I see one way out there, I'm not gonna go close to it, right? And on that same day, this one that I was viewing from afar, I'm not even kidding, flew up 3 feet away from me and landed at eye level and was just staring at me. It was too close to take a proper shot. And I thought, how ironic is that, right? But
Trying to respect its space.
yeah, and then it came right up to me, 3, 4 feet, I think, at eye level. I couldn't believe it. It was like, I'm still kind of processing it. Like, why did it do that?
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
yeah, and it was just this huge open field. It could have gone anywhere. But that was a really cool experience. And like, I don't know if I had gotten a good shot of it, if it would do it full justice, that experience. It's personal, right? So that's what I think about photography too, is like, it's kind of like your passport or a gateway into that world. So you might not be getting all the shots, but it's encouraging you to get out and explore these areas, right? And seek out these experiences. The shot is secondary, right? That's why, like, if you look up my social media and things like that, I don't really post that much. And I used to, and I used to post in real time. But then I noticed, and I was naive when I first started, but then people would ask me where I saw that, and you would find out that they would go to that place, and you would find out how they behaved in that place, and that was really upsetting to me, right? You want to share these beautiful experiences and make them accessible to people, but then some people kind of ruin it, right? They'll disturb the animal, they'll get right up to it, or just do unethical things, right? For likes and for it's
Yeah.
like, what's the goal there, right? To get likes? Is that was a rude awakening for me, and then that's how I sort of decided to become a little bit more private about it, and realize what my intentions were all along, right? It's a lot of it for me is like therapeutic, right? Being out in nature. I've always loved it, and I think there's a lot of science to prove that being out in nature is good for you and for your mental health and things like that. So it's just getting back to what my original intentions and goals were and staying true to that as much as possible. But then also from time to time sharing my love, for photography, for nature and things like that, and not being too private about it,
Yeah.
because then it's like, it's fun to share it. The community aspect of it, and that's what I discovered at the talk that I did at the Brandon General Museum.
Okay, yeah.
It sort of reignited my love for it, in the sense that there's a community and social connection aspect of it, rather than just, images on a hard drive gathering dust. Hey, let's bring these images to life, and let's use it to educate, let's use it to inspire, let's use it to connect as humans, right? As a community, which also has mental health benefits and benefits as social creatures, right? And so that's a cool angle of all this as well, right? And this isn't bragging, but I've noticed quite a progression from when I first started, and a lot of it boils down to, there's the technical aspects of the camera, learning how to use all the different features better and more effectively, but then it's also, throughout the process, is learning more about the species, right, and their behaviors, and how to get closer to them in a way that doesn't disturb them, right? it's just sort of like becoming more in harmony with them, if you will. Um, but yeah, it's been a huge learning process in terms of like the technical aspects, but just learning about the species as well, how they behave, but also what they are, right? Like, so I would go home and see this image, go through my files and say, hey, oh, that's an interesting bird. What is that, right? And then do my research online and figure out that that's whatever, a kestrel or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm learning. Like, this is really stimulating in so many aspects, on top of getting physical exercise, fresh air. And now what I'm discovering is like there's a community aspect. So yeah, I've evolved in so many different ways with this craft, this hobby, and it's been awesome. My first encounter with a northern harrier.
Okay.
So I was new to photography, new to birding, and I'm like 50-50 when it comes to those two. So I see this white, almost like seagull-looking bird over the farm, Shiloh Farms, and I'm like, okay, whatever, just take a shot of it. And it was only afterwards that I realized, like, processing the photo, like, hey, that's not a seagull, and its face kind of looks like an owl, right? Like, but that's not an owl. And if that's an owl, that's a very strange looking owl. And I think the commonality that I noticed is like owls are forward facing eyes, whereas some birds are like this. So I assumed like that's an owl looking bird, and then did some more research and figured out it was a northern harrier and a male one. And that was such a cool, like, eye-opening experience for me, right? But what I'm starting to miss now is the more knowledge I accumulate, the less that sort of that learning fun
you just
goes away, right? Like, it's like, so now I have to go further. I have to go look for whooping cranes and all these. I have to go to keep that learning excitement going, right? Like weather. So the camera, the gear, that's one thing, but your clothing, right? In winter, and like your hands especially, right? Like that's a tricky one. So being prepared for that and having something that you're able to still use all the functions of the camera without like big mitts and things like that. And also too, like in Manitoba, like with your vehicle, right? That's the main way you get around in our open province, right? And seeking out these animals. That has a whole world of challenges, right? Because like you're in the winter, your vehicle is warm. So when you open your window, you have that heat distortion that's escaping from your car. And I learned that the hard way. Like, why aren't any of these pictures focused? And it's because the heat escaping from your car.
Yes.
And even like your lens hood. So even your lens hood would be warm, and so when you stick your camera out of the car, it's thawing out and releasing heat, which is then resulting in blurred, seemingly unfocused images, right? So there's all kinds of little challenges and quirks that I've, again, learned the hard way through a lot of trial and error that probably still working through, and I don't even know some of the challenges that I'm fighting against. And that's the thing too about how I see my work, is that I know I'm not the best. I know I'm far from the best, but I'm okay with that. I think it's everyone's, it's personal, and as long as you enjoy it, as long as you're getting something out of it and being able to share your joy of the outdoors and of nature, you're a winner. You don't have to be technically like the best out there, but I know there's a lot better than me, and that's okay. See there, seagull. Nice to see those back even, right?
Everything is so exciting. Every single bird that comes back.
I saw a whole bunch of them on the way this morning, and it's like, they're beautiful.
Do you come